Welcome back. We're diving into something pretty profound today. It's less about just analyzing sources about an album and more about, well, the philosophy behind it.
Yeah, it's almost like an instruction manual for survival embedded in a story and music.
Exactly. We're looking at the story of 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗔. She's presented as a two-spirit Apache matriarch, and her narrative is this incredible sight of active transformation, fighting against erasure.
And our mission really is to give you the blueprint laid out in the sources we've synthesized. There are these 5 key threads that are all woven together.
Okay, what are they?
So first, there's identity, claiming it radically. Then ancestral memory, how that's practiced. Third is disability, but reframed. Fourth, art as a form of resistance. And finally, community.
5 threads. Wow.
Yeah, and the goal is to really unpack how these threads show personal and intergenerational trauma being actively turned into collective wisdom, into survival, really.
And the starting point, the engine for all this, seems to be her identity. It's complex.
Absolutely. The sources emphasize she's simultaneously a two-spirit transgender woman, an Apache matriarch, an artist, and, importantly, a disabled person.
And she doesn't separate these things, right? It's all integrated. Her disability, her indigeneity, it's all part of her whole being. She demands to be seen fully.
And that complexity finds its anchor in her name, 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗔. It's not just a name tag. It's a mandate, a life purpose.
Okay, break that down for us.
Right. So Łizh means transform, specifically transforming pain into creation. Házhó'ĩ is about harmony, beauty, balance. And Bidził, that means she walks or moves with strength.
Transform, harmony, walks with strength. Wow.
So her name itself basically demands that her life be this active, powerful process of becoming.
Okay, let's unpack that first thread then. Sovereignty of the self. The sources really hit hard on this idea of refusal at the start.
Yeah. She actively rejects what the sources call these flattened labels offered to her by outsiders.
Labels like too much, too messy, too fragile, those kinds of things.
Exactly. The colonial whispers, you could say. And instead of accepting them, she anchors herself in her name. And that name connects her to history, to language, to responsibility.
So naming isn't passive here. It's an action.
It's presented as a profound act of sovereignty. You have to remember, historically, colonial powers try to erase native identities, right? Forced assimilation, imposing Christian names.
Right, overwriting who people were.
So by asserting this name, a name carrying these meanings of transformation and movement, she's directly pushing back against that whole history. Identity here is active. It's movement and practice rather than a boxed classification.
That makes sense. It's not static, it's always in motion.
Yeah.
But if identity is movement, how does the name still act as an anchor? How does it keep her grounded in history, like you said?
Good question. It's about the language of the name. The sources suggest the name itself is like a specific linguistic technology designed to resist being assimilated. It ties her being directly to the Apache language, to her cultural lineage. So when she identifies as a two-spirit matriarch, it's not just describing, say, an orientation in a Western sense.
It's more than that.
Way more. She's claiming a sacred role within a specific cosmological structure, one that existed long before colonial categories were imposed.
And there's that quote included from Ruth Villaseñor, Chiricahua Apache, that really captures this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's powerful. She says, identifying as two-spirit has always meant I have embraced my culture. It means I see myself more than just a gay, lesbian, or queer person. It means I am native.
That cultural centering is key. It's not just a label, it's belonging.
And the narrative really shows the protagonist doing that work restoring terms of belonging that, missionary schools and colonial laws tried desperately to erase.
So her art, her life, it becomes teaching.
Exactly. Every time she asserts that true name, this 𝗧𝗪𝗡𝗞𝗔, it's an act of reclamation for her, and it's kind of a lesson for anyone listening or watching.
Okay, so the name is the anchor. What about the next thread?
Ancestral memory. You said it guides her movement. This part sounded intense.
It is. It's really layered. The core idea here is that ancestral memory isn't just stories or thoughts. It's physical. It's palpable.
How so?
The protagonist is described as becoming a kind of medium for intergenerational grief and wisdom. Like the voices and experiences of her ancestors are literally rising up from the land itself.
Wow. Okay.
And what's fascinating, what the album seems to do, is flip the script on trauma. It reframes it.
Oh.
Instead of trauma being this private, hidden burden, this pathology, it's presented as an archive,
An archive.
Yeah, a social resource that obliges reciprocity. It's not your personal problem to fix alone. It's a shared community asset,
Right.
something that actually demands collective action and acknowledgement.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective. But it sounds heavy, too. If trauma is an archive, isn't there a risk of, I don't know, romanticizing that pain? How does the narrative handle preventing re-traumatization? That's a crucial point, and the sources do address it. The key seems to be that word, reciprocity. An archive isn't useful if it just sits there, right? Or if only one person carries it.
Okay.
The danger comes when that collective memory is hoarded or ignored or put onto one person. By framing it as a social resource, the narrative insists the community shares the labor of tending to it, processing, remembering, acting on it.
So it's a shared responsibility.
Exactly. And musically, the sources say this is reflected too. They mention sampled textures, chants, and low drums that evoke this deep subcranial presence of those voices, like geological time.
Okay, I can almost hear that. So if trauma is this shared archive underground, then the body becomes the library. That leads us to the disability thread, right?
Precisely. And again, there's a reframing. Disability isn't presented as a deficit, not as something lacking. It's described as embodied expertise.
Embodied expertise,
Meaning the experience of living with disability provides a unique kind of knowledge. She insists on walking while broken, refusing this pressure for physical perfection that often comes with colonial ideas about, productivity and health.
Right.
The scars she carries, the broken feathers mentioned, they're reframed. They become cartographies of survival, like maps showing where she's been, what she's learned through hardship.
So it's about knowledge gained through injury, not just capacity lost because of it.
Exactly. It fundamentally redefines what functionality means.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the capacity that survival itself builds.
And this idea, this embodied expertise, it connects directly to maybe one of the most politically charged parts of the source material, the act of refusal.
Yes, this is really crucial and warrants its own focus. If you connect the dots, her refusal isn't just being difficult. It's framed as a sacred act. Self-preservation.
Saying no.
Saying no to being exploited, no to overwork, no to being the token representative expected to perform her identity or trauma for others.
Can you give us some examples of what that looks like in the story?
Yeah, the sources describe specific moments like she refuses to be on a panel where it feels like her pain is just being mined for, say, white consumption without any real support offered back.
Okay.
She refuses to push herself physically beyond her limits while she's healing, even if there's financial pressure. Because preserving her energy, her physical and spiritual energy, is essential for the collective work.
That makes sense. It's pushing back against that constant demand for productivity.
Totally. It challenges those paradigms that just extract from marginalized bodies without reciprocity, as the sources put it. Her refusal sets these really clear ethical boundaries. It says, my energy is for my community, not for colonial demands.
And that energy she preserves, it gets channeled into the next thread, art as resistance.
Right, because the sources describe this scenario where colonizers actually try to steal her music, they try to mimic it, package it, commodify her sound.
And her response isn't retaliation?
No. The response described is amplification through creation, basically.
Yeah.
More song, more teaching, more making things together as a community.
That defiance then is built into the music itself.
Absolutely. Intentionally so. The album is described as refusing easy listening. It layers incredibly complex ideas and sounds. It's this fusion of really chaotic intensity, but also these haunting experimental vibes.
Yeah, look at this list of genres mentioned. Shoegaze, trip hop, ambient modular music, industrial, ethereal, folk, grunge, noise rock, goth rock. That's a lot. How does that complexity work as resistance?
Well, think about it. That sheer range, that mix, it acts as a kind of barrier against appropriation. You can't easily grab it and make it simple. Take the noise rock or industrial elements, that harshness, that dissonance, it's like a sonic no.
Yeah.
It rejects the easy, predictable harmonies that often get demanded in cultural consumption. The sound is difficult. It forces you, the listener, to actually engage with the context, not just skim the surface.
And the ambient, the ethereal parts.
They provide the space, right? The sonic room needed to hold the weight of that ancestral memory we talked about, to let those chants and drones really breathe and have presence. You just can't flatten music that operates on so many different levels simultaneously.
So the music itself is structurally designed to be hard to steal. How else is this protection detailed?
By making the knowledge relational. The narrative shows her teaching music, yes, But she teaches community members, especially children, what are called unlearnable scales.
Unlearnable scale.
Yeah, melodies and rhythms that are so rooted in shared cultural practice and context that an outsider simply cannot reproduce them authentically without that deep shared understanding. They also make sure the teaching happens in specific protected physical spaces. It defines who gets access.
Which leads us right into the final thread you mentioned,
Okay.
community. All this resistance, the sovereignty, it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's all sustained by what the sources call the communal circle of voices.
And who is in this circle?
It's described as being made up of the silenced, the disabled, the displaced, the queer. And the crucial shift here is away from any idea of a lone hero. It's all about relational uplift.
Relational uplift.
Yeah. The individual acts the refusal, the creation, the call. They find their real power and meaning within that collective circle. It's not just a support group. It's described as a practical model of reciprocity in action.
What does that look like day to day, that reciprocity?
It's about shared work, shared responsibility. The sources say members teach and are taught, they share labor, and they hold boundaries together. So, for example, the protagonist, being disabled, isn't expected to carry everything or work beyond her capacity.
And or step in.
Exactly. Others fill those gaps. The goal isn't maximizing one person's output. It's maximizing the creative energy and survival of the whole group.
So if we bring all 5 threads together, identity, memory, disability refusal, art, community, what's the final picture? What does it all synthesize into?
The final image offered is incredibly powerful. It's the collective flight, scarred wings rising together. The circle isn't just a safe place. It's a launch pad. It demonstrates that real liberation, deep transformation. It's woven together. It's collective. It happens through shared practice, not just individual willpower.
Okay, let's quickly recap that journey for you, the listener. We've seen these 5 threads intertwine. The reclaimed name anchors identity. Ancestral memory breathes life into the song. The scars become tools, maps of survival. The art, in its complexity, resists being erased. And the community, the circle, amplifies all of it into that collective flight.
Yeah. The album isn't positioned as a story about wounds ending, but as a manual for living with and through wounds.
Living through them.
And there's this point made that healing is a cycle, not an end, which really hits home in the description of the final track, Return of Light.
What happens there?
The protagonist looks back at the land, at the earth itself, and realizes the scars on the land, the physical marks of historical trauma. They aren't just ugly marks. They actually glow with color.
Yeah.
Permanent, luminous color.
Wow. So transformation isn't making the wound disappear.
No. It's like the wound is permanently colored, made radiant, made beautiful and undeniable in its own way.
That's quite an image to end on. Which brings us, I guess, to our final thought for you listening. The narrative mentions something called the hidden temple.
Yeah, described as this sacred place built not of stone, but of memory, a space where broken spirits gathered to remember their wholeness.
So if survival and remembering wholeness are the goals here, we want to leave you with this question. What sacred spaces, maybe not physical ones, but spaces built of shared memory and that kind of reciprocity we talked about, what spaces like that are needed in your own life, your own community, to hold collective memory and maintain wholeness?
It's about looking for art, perhaps, that functions not just as entertainment, but as vital cultural infrastructure, something that helps build and maintain those hidden temples.